Please rise for the passing of the colors.
Well, good morning, everyone. On behalf of the university community, I want to welcome you to the 2012 Spring Graduate Commencement Exercises. We will now have the singing of the national anthem by Ms. Paige Russell, followed by the posting of the colors by the University Color Guard.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. We are pleased to have with us today representatives from Virginia Tech's Board of Visitors. Board members are appointed by the governor, and Virginia Tech has been fortunate to have a record of appointees who bring to this voluntary service a deep and genuine commitment to the university. And I'd like to ask them to stand as I read their names. Mr. George Nolan, Rector of the Board, Mr. Cordell Falk, Dr. Calvin Jamerson, and Mr. John Rokovich. Also, we are pleased to welcome Dr. Bruce Pinchuk, the faculty representative to the board, Ms. Maxine Lyons, the staff representative, and Ms. Michelle McLeish, the graduate student representative. So, ladies and gentlemen, please recognize with your applause these representatives. Thank you. I'm also pleased to introduce the deans of our colleges. These individuals have the immense responsibility for the academic and administrative direction of each college. Dr. Karen DuPaw, Vice President and Dean of Graduate Education, Dr. Rosemary Blisner, Associate Dean of the Graduate School, Dr. Janet Rankin, Associate Dean of the Graduate School, Dr. Alan Grant, Dean of the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, Professor Jack Davis, Dean of the College of Architecture and Urban Studies, Dr. Richard Sorensen, Dean of the Pamplin College of Business, Dr. Richard Benson, Dean of the College of Engineering, Professor Suat Rollins, Dean of the College of Liberal Arts and Human Sciences, and Dr. Paul Winsdorfer, Dean of the College of Natural Resources and the Environment, Dr. Leinam Chang, Dean of the College of Science, and Dr. Gerhard Schurig, Dean of the Virginia Maryland Regional College of Veterinary Medicine. Please recognize them with your applause as well. Thank you. I also would like to recognize the university's senior administrators who've joined us on the stage today. Dr. Mark McNamee, our Senior Vice President and Provost, and today's keynote speaker. Mr. Irving Bly, the Vice President for Information Technology and Chief Information Officer. Dr. Elizabeth Flanagan, Vice President for Development and University Relations. Dr. William Lewis, the Vice President for Diversity and Inclusion, and Mr. Dwight Shelton, the Vice President for Finance and Chief Financial Officer. Dr. Edward Spencer, our Vice President for Student Affairs. Dr. Thomas Tiller, Vice President for Alumni Relations. And Dr. Robert Walters, Vice President for Research. Dr. Sherwood Wilson, our Vice President for Administrative Services. Dr. Daniel Wuba, Vice President and Dean of Undergraduate Education. Please recognize these individuals as well. Also on stage are Dr. Michael Ellenbrock, the Commencement Marshal, Ali Tafik, the Graduate Student Marshal, Ms. Caitlin Shugart-Schmidt, the Graduate Honor System Chief Justice, Mr. Shri Navayanyan, Graduate Student Assembly President, and Ms. Amanda Rumor, the Graduate Student Commencement Speaker. I would also like to recognize Dr. Satish Kulkarni, who will be receiving the Graduate Alumni Achievement Award later in this ceremony. We're also delighted to have with us today from Basel, Switzerland, Dr. Edward Constable, who is the Vice Rector for Research for the University of Basel, which is one of the graduate school's study abroad European partners in our International Global Perspectives program. Please recognize these individuals. Thank you. As you know, the degrees that you are about to receive are the highest that students may earn. It's also important to note that these students would not have achieved their goals without the teaching and guidance of the faculty. And I'd also, at this point, like to ask the faculty to stand and be recognized. The faculty, if you let us recognize you. There are many faculty and staff members who work tirelessly to make this commencement a celebratory event. Many are serving as ushers and marshals today and have taken on additional administrative assignments to support this special occasion, and I want to take this opportunity to thank you as well. We all know that behind each graduate student is a supporting cast of family and community members, and I'd like these individuals to stand so we can congratulate them as well. Would the family of the graduate students stand, those of you in the audience? Thank you. Virginia Tech is a premier research university offering 159 master's and doctoral degrees through 8 academic colleges and at our extended campus locations throughout the Commonwealth, as well as graduate level certificates in a variety of disciplines. Graduate students have a vital role in advancing the university's land-grant values of discovery, learning, and outreach. And our graduate student body is composed of motivated, high-achieving students from 50 states and over 120 countries from around the world. During the spring semester, nearly 1,300 students have earned advanced degrees, including 1,035 master's degrees, 11 educational specialist degrees, and 251 doctoral degrees. And we have over 600 of these outstanding students participating in graduation today. So this morning, we are pleased to recognize and to celebrate with our graduate students, and we are here to honor you. This ceremony signifies a tremendous achievement, a celebration of your talents and of your skill and your hard work. And we look forward with great anticipation to learning of your continued progress and your future accomplishments. I'm sure that you will continue to display the Hokie spirit and always be part of the very special Virginia Tech community. At this time, it is my pleasure to present Virginia Tech's Vice President and Dean of Graduate Studies, Dr. Karen DuPaul, who will introduce the graduate student speaker and today's commencement speaker. Dr. DuPaul.
Good morning. It is my pleasure to introduce Amanda Rumor, who is serving as the graduate student speaker. Amanda is receiving her PhD in biological sciences. She has demonstrated an enduring interest in scientific research since her freshman year at Virginia Tech, and her dissertation work has led to a provisional patent for a new therapeutic target for mold allergies. And she's already published and incorporated the patent into 3 publications. Leadership and service have been an integral part of Amanda's experience. And these have been acknowledged by her induction into Alpha Epsilon Lambda, a graduate honorary society, She has also served on multiple university committees and commissions, including executive roles in the Graduate Student Assembly, a panelist for the Graduate Honor System, and a facilitator for the university's undergraduate Leadership Tech program. Her honors include recognition as a Graduate School Citizen Scholar, Who's Who among American universities and colleges, and in 2011, she was recognized as the Graduate Woman of the Year. Amanda has accepted a visiting assistant professorship at Randolph College in Lynchburg, Virginia. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Amanda Rumor.
Thank you, President Steger, Provost McNamee, Dean DePaul, distinguished faculty, staff, family, and friends for being here today. And congratulations, graduates. It is finally time to celebrate our passion, dedication, and years of hard work. Although I am honored to be speaking to you today, I must admit that the last thing I wanted to do after finishing my rather loquacious dissertation was write anything ever again. But my Google happy fingers were still firing, so off I went to complete this one last assignment. I searched for speeches, inspirational quotes, and general advice on life to share with you today. I made word clouds, I cited references, I composed a nice little literature review. And in my brief and completely unscientific search, I found a common theme: failure. Everyone from Bill Gates to Oprah has stated their own failures have been the most significant influence to their success. In all irony, failure, the one thing we have strived against through countless years of our education, is apparently the most important factor in shaping our future. I wish someone had told me that 8 years and 2 degrees ago. I would be a whole lot richer and own far fewer maroon and orange t-shirts. But I also found in my search an African proverb, which states, "It takes a village to raise a child." It also takes a village to educate and support a graduate scholar. I would personally like to thank my advisor, Chris Lawrence, whose scientific and philosophical discussions have prepared me well for the future. I would also like to thank my husband, Michael, for giving me more love, patience, and encouragement than I can ever thank him for. So although our failures have surely humbled us, please join me in applause to thank the family, friends, faculty, and administrators who helped us along the way. They are here today, and they are proud. My time here at Virginia Tech has, without question, been the greatest years of my life. From my first days as an eager freshman, to being surrounded by 66,000 Hokies jumping to enter Sandman, to West End and wine socials, to finally standing here today, Virginia Tech has always been a place I feel home. I hope as alumni of this great institution, you will join me in preaching our Hokie motto, Ut Prosim, that I may serve, as we head off to solve the world's greatest problems. I will leave you with 3 short recommendations for accomplishing this, compiled from my review of commencement speeches. First, be kind. My grandfather always taught me to be gracious and considerate to those who you meet on the way up, since you never know who you will meet on the way down. At some point in your life, you will need everyone working for you, not against you, and acts of kindness tend to make people more sympathetic to your needs. Second, be humble. Humility reminds us of how far we've come and how short we are of who we want to be. You will truly thrive once you can laugh at your failures and embrace your limitations. It will only make your long-awaited successes that much more enjoyable. And finally, in the words of Steve Jobs, be foolish. It may appear that getting ahead in this world demands following the value system of the majority, but this is not the path you have to take. You may find your dream job and do brilliant work, but then realize you do not want this life. Just remember, your success will not be measured by what you get, but by what you give to make this world a better place. Don't be scared to take the chance. Congratulations again, graduates, and go Hokies.
It's now my pleasure to introduce today's commencement speaker, Senior Vice President and Provost of Virginia Tech, Dr. Mark McNamee. In 2001, Dr. McNamee joined Virginia Tech as the university's Chief Academic Officer. In that role, he is responsible for all undergraduate, graduate, research, and outreach programs. Before coming to Virginia Tech, Dr. McNamee spent 26 years at the University of California at Davis. He started as professor, advanced to chair of the Department of Biochemistry and Biophysics, and served as dean of the Division of Biological Sciences. His strong support of graduate education has resulted in notable growth of doctoral programs, interdisciplinary programs, and greatly expanded research opportunities in biomedical and health sciences, bioinformatics, information technology, and nanotechnology. Dr. McNamee received his bachelor's degree in chemistry from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and his PhD in physical chemistry from Stanford. He is a board member of the National Institute of Aerospace, the Science Museum of Western Virginia, and the Taubman Museum of Art. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Mark McNamee.
Thank you, Karen. Good morning. It's a great honor to be selected as the Graduate School Commencement Speaker, and I'm actually very happy to be here on this special day in your lives as you receive, among your friends and family, a graduate degree or certificate. I've worked very closely with Dean DePaul over the past decade to advance the quality, the scope, and the vitality of graduate education at Virginia Tech. And I'm really pleased with what we've been accomplishing. We still have more to do, but it's been a great ride so far. You're evidence of what we've managed to accomplish, and I'm proud of each one of you. Now, I've been looking forward to giving a commencement speech for many years. I estimate that over the past years, I've listened to more than 100 commencement addresses as a member of a stage party, both here and elsewhere. And despite the jokes that you hear about commencement speeches, many of them are actually quite good, and they're sometimes memorable. Hoda Kotb's talk several years ago to our undergraduates stirred a level of excitement I've rarely seen. And several years ago, Professor Michael Hocella's address to the graduate students poignantly highlighted the obstacles he overcame to achieve his goals. I'm confident that the dual presentations we'll be hearing later today from First Lady Michelle Obama and Senator Mark Warner will have a lasting impression, will make a lasting impression on everyone at Virginia Tech. Now, in creating my own commencement speech, I've thought about all the lessons I've learned and what to avoid as I sat patiently on stage all these years. The most dreaded words at the beginning of a speech are, "I will be brief." These words always remind me of Richard Nixon's famous, "I am not a crook." The second element that sends shivers down my spine is a statement such as, "I want to highlight the 39 steps to follow for a wonderful life as you climb every mountain and ford every stream. Number 1A is..." And the third thing that amazes me is the incorporation of dozens of elegant quotes into a speech. I am usually impressed, but I've come to realize that quotes do not fit my style. For example, I cannot imagine myself saying, as the highly lauded Latin linguist Loquatio Footballissimo once said, "Bo bis bit, bemis beatus bunt, break through the line and block that punt," etc., etc., etc. Yeah. I believe I can do just fine by using simple, concise, and grammatically correct sentences. And by the way, I think that may have been lesson 27C in someone's speech. Taking all of this into consideration, I plan to talk for about 8 minutes, including the introduction you just heard. You can judge for yourself if it is brief. I'll not use any quotes from learned sages of bygone eras, and I'll be making only one point. And my one point is, let your heart lead you. As graduate students, you have demonstrated your ability to master complex concepts, and you're capable of developing creative solutions to challenging problems. You're in a position now or in the future to assume leadership positions that will enable you to influence the lives and the well-being of many people. You may face legal or ethical challenges. You will most certainly encounter difficult people or situations, conflicting goals, or personal challenges. Your head and your conscious brain can usually store, sort, and analyze all of these issues, and you can usually weigh risks and benefits, develop scenarios, and anticipate consequences. However, your brain alone may not produce for you a simple or even a correct answer. At some point, you must call upon your core values, your gut instincts, and your very human feelings in order to make good decisions about important issues. If you care deeply about yourself and others in a solid, emotional, and empathic manner, you will hear messages from your heart, and they will lead you in the right direction. Along the way, you'll need time for reflection so that you can strike a good balance between your mind and your heart. And you need to pay attention to the little things and the little decisions so that you can develop and learn to trust your instincts when big things come along. Now, during my career, I've had to make many decisions, some of which have been challenging or painful for me or others. I've also had the opportunity to make many happy decisions from which I've gained great pleasure. However, in all cases, I'm careful to listen to and follow my heart. Some decisions bring tears to my eyes, but I rarely have trouble sleeping at night because I work very hard not to violate my core values or to act out of expediency rather than principle. I want to cite a few examples, but not 39 of them. When I was in the process of selecting a graduate research advisor at Stanford, I expected to choose one of the established inorganic chemists in my planned area of study. However, I met Dr. Hardin McConnell, a physical chemist who had boldly ventured into biophysical studies of biological membranes. I was intrigued and excited by his work, and I decided I'd like to join his laboratory. Some of my fellow students thought I had lost my mind, since McConnell had a reputation as a fearsome and demanding professor. We may have a little bit of that here too sometimes. I am forever grateful, however, that I did not let their fears dissuade me. I had a fantastic experience, and he helped launch me onto a path that led to my later fields of biochemistry and neuroscience. I let my heart lead me. Many of you may have had a somewhat similar experience in deciding where you wanted to attend graduate school. Your undergraduate accomplishments prepared you to open doors to different avenues, but in your heart, I hope that Virginia Tech felt like the right place with the right combination of academics and community. My decision to come to Virginia Tech in 2001 was a surprise to me and others. I was well established at UC Davis, and I had an opportunity to move up in the administration. After 26 very good years, why would I leave? However, I sensed something very special was happening at Virginia Tech, and I felt in my heart that I could be part of something bigger. So here I am, and I've never looked back. It was a great opportunity. The last example stirs different emotions. In the hours and days following the April 16th tragedy, we had to make hundreds of decisions affecting those who were directly affected, and we also attended to the health and welfare of our entire faculty, our staff, our students, and community. As we prepared for the resumption of classes 1 week later, one of the decisions we had to make was how best to enable students to successfully finish the semester. Against all bureaucratic and head-centered expectations, I decided, with the advice and support of the deans, to turn our system inside out and let each student decide, course by course, how he or she would complete their studies for the semester. Students could accept a grade for work already completed or could continue to invest in improving their situation. Providing our students with control relieved layers of anxiety and enabled all of us to move forward. Our hearts prevailed, and the students' hearts led them to make the best possible decisions for their own well-being. So as you move forward in life, I hope you have a loving and trusting support system that helps keep you grounded and helps you maintain perspective on what is really important. The presence of so many friends and family members here today to share in your accomplishments suggests that you're off to a very good start. Looking back over the last 39 years since I received my graduate degree, I feel fortunate to have had the support of a wonderful family, a family that has always been at the center of my life. And as you look ahead to the next 39 years, which will go by very quickly you will face a world where financial, political, social, and environmental challenges are daunting. You'll have a chance to make many choices and many decisions. Believe in yourself. You can make a difference. I have confidence that you will succeed by building upon what you've learned here at Virginia Tech, and I hope that you will let your heart lead you. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McNamee. We would now like to observe a special award ceremony. And for that, I will ask Dr. Tom Tiller, Vice President for Alumni Relations, to join me as we explain its significance. The success of a university is often reflected best in the accomplishments of its alumni. Together, the Graduate School and the Alumni Association have established the Graduate Alumni Achievement Award. And this was done to recognize graduate alumni who have achieved the highest goals in their fields. I am pleased to announce that the 2012 recipient of the Graduate Alumni Achievement Award is Dr. Satish V. Kulkarni. Dr. Kulkarni, please come forward.
Dr. Satish Kulkarni received his doctorate in engineering mechanics from Virginia Tech in 1972. After a distinguished career leading international and national collaborations related to energy, security, and the environment, Dr. Kulkarni returned to Virginia Tech last year as Director of Energy. Dr. Kulkarni has an exemplary record of innovative, scientific, educational, and political leadership in national and international arenas. He began his career at Babcock & Wilcox Nuclear Power Generation Division before joining Lawrence Livermore National Laboratory, where he directed numerous interdisciplinary projects. Then, as a member of the University of California President's staff, he helped develop, communicate, and implement a unified corporate research strategy to better utilize and manage resources between California's 3 national laboratories and the 10-campus University of California system. Later, the U.S. Department of State appointed him to serve as the Science, Technology, Environment, and Health Counselor in the U.S. Embassy in New Delhi, India. Dr. Kulkarni, for your exemplary achievements in your field, the Graduate School and the Virginia Tech Alumni Association are proud to present you with the 2012 Graduate Alumni Achievement Award.
I am truly humbled and honored with this award, and I'll be brief, and a big thank you to the university community. Appreciate it very much.
And now, one of the greatest pleasures of the graduate dean, at least from my perspective, is to introduce the candidates for graduate degrees, and in doing so, to inform all of you about the accomplishments of many of our graduates. Each and every student here today has a story to share of their experiences and activities during graduate education. And believe me, we're not going through all of those stories. We wish to recognize you as you have been an integral part of this very strong graduate community. Please stand and remain standing if you are a student who has received one of the nation's most competitive fellowships, including those from the National Science Foundation, the Virginia Space Grant, a national laboratory, the U.S. Departments of Agriculture, Defense, Engineering, Housing and Urban Development, Homeland Security, Interior, Transportation. No one's standing yet. Some of you have gotten these awards, so yes, thank you very much. I know you're out there, those of you. Yes, that's it. No, remain standing, please. Yes, okay. Please remain standing, okay? I can see you when you sit down, so please stand and remain standing if you have received an award or scholarship from a corporation, state, or national foundation or professional association. Some of you can stand now. Please stand and remain standing if you were able to complete your studies because of a Virginia Tech legacy or scholarship that was established by alumni or family and friends. And there are more of you who should be standing. Please stand and remain standing if you were selected as the outstanding master's or doctoral student from your college, received the Graduate Teaching Assistance Excellence Award, Graduate Student Service Award Excellence, the William Preston Master's Thesis Award, or other awards and scholarships in your department or college. And more of you should be standing. Please stand and be recognized if you have earned the distinction as Graduate School Citizen Scholar, which is a program established by the Graduate School to encourage students to use their skills in community partnerships. Please stand if you have, and remain standing, if you have been inducted into a Leadership Honorary Society, Alpha Epsilon Lambda, or the Interdisciplinary Research Honor Society, Iota Delta Rho. And please stand if you have participated in the Graduate Student Assembly, served on a university committee, participated in Graduate Research Symposium, or participated in many events and workshops sponsored by the Graduate School. And finally, please stand if you have ever visited the Graduate Life Center or lived in the Graduate Life Center, participated in the Student Lounge, walk-in services, relaxed at the Outdoor Plaza. And by now, you've already figured this out, you should all be standing. And ladies and gentlemen, these are our graduates. You may be seated. Each year, we select graduates for special recognition, and we'd like to do this as a surprise, so I hope it is a surprise. And today, I would like to ask the graduate student marshal, Ali Tawfiq, and his wife, Nina Orfik, to please stand and be recognized. Both of them are receiving doctoral degrees in engineering and are moving on with their almost two-year-old son. Congratulations to both of you. Many of the friends and family of today's graduates have sacrificed time and resources to help their loved ones attain the hard-won goal of a graduate degree. For those who provided support but weren't a part of the graduate experience, we would now like to share with you a few of the images from this past year that reflect on the diversity, vitality, and the experiences of our graduate students. Please take a few minutes to enjoy the visual presentation, which is accompanied by an original composition by Virginia Tech Professor James Sojinsky, played in honor of today's graduates by the Virginia Tech Brass Ensemble. Its title is paraphrasing of Invent the Future. It then will be followed by the conferral of the degrees.
We will now begin the conferral of degrees. The presentation of the doctoral degree is accompanied by a special tradition within academia. The doctoral degree recipients will be hooded by their major professors. The faculty member who accompanies the student to the stage is a member of the student's research committee and in most cases is the student's major doctoral advisor. That faculty member who mentored the student and most closely supervised his or her research. So by hooding the graduate student today, the faculty member symbolically welcomes the graduate as a professional colleague. A professional relationship and friendship often continues throughout the graduates and their mentors' lives.
Will all the candidates for the Doctor of Philosophy and Doctor of Education degrees please rise? President Steger, I have the honor to present the candidates for the Doctor of Philosophy and Doctor of Education degrees.
With the power vested in me by the Board of Visitors in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and upon the recommendation of the faculty, I confer upon you the Doctor of Philosophy and Doctor of Education degrees to which you are entitled with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto. Congratulations.
You may be seated. Will the marshals please escort the candidates for the doctoral degrees and their major professors to the stage for the hooding ceremony? Professor Joel Marola will be reading the names of the doctoral recipients and the hooding professors.
Receiving the Doctor of Philosophy from the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences in Agricultural and Extension Education, Cheney Mosley, hooded by Professor Thomas Broyles. Megan Marie Seibel, hooded by Professor Rick Rudd. In Animal and Dairy Sciences, Rebecca Josephina Ortiz Marti, hooded by Professor Isis Malarkey. In Biochemistry, Justin Allen Lemke, hooded by Professor David Bevan. Michelle Lynn Oppenheimer, hooded by Professor Pablo Sobrado. In Crop, Soil, and Environmental Sciences, William Hunter Frame, hooded by Professor Mark Alley. In Economics, Agriculture, and Life Sciences, Kristen Lynn Capagrossi, hooded by Professor Wen Yu. In Entomology, Anna Wallingford, hooded by Professor Tom Kuhar. In Food Science and Technology, Takia Onia Abdul Malik, hooded by Professor Renee Boyer. Govindaraj Devkumar, hooded by Professor Robert Williams. In Human Nutrition, Food, and Exercise, Numan Abdul Razak Al Rayyan, hooded by Professor Deborah Good. Laura Jean Newsom, hooded by Professor Bill Herbert. In plant pathology, physiology, and weed science, Sasha C. Marine, hooded by Professor Keith Yoder and Professor Anton Badwin. From the College of Architecture and Urban Studies in Environmental Design and Planning, Justin Earl Weedman, hooded by Professor Deborah Young Corbett. In Public Administration and Public Affairs, Michael Stewart Keeney, hooded by Professor Brian Cook and Professor Karen Holt. From the Pamplin College of Business in Business Accounting, Ryan Don Leese, hooded by Professor John Maher. Todd Palmer White, hooded by Professor John Maurer. In Business Finance, Wei Shen Li, hooded by Professor Inche Ozgur. In Business Marketing, Megan Elizabeth Pierce, hooded by Professor David Brinberg. From the College of Engineering in Aerospace Engineering, Alexander K. Sang, hooded by Professor Joseph Schetz. Pu Wang, hooded by Professor Wayne Scales. Ching Young, hooded by Professor Lei McHugh. In Biological Systems Engineering, Ni Ofe Daku Manta, hooded by Professor Mary Lee Wolf. In Biomedical Engineering, Teja Andrich, hooded by Professor Joseph Freeman. Kristen McKeon Fisher, hooded by Professor Joseph Freeman. In Civil Engineering, Randy Hope Brazo, hooded by Professor Karen Roberts Woolman. Benjamin Thomas Cross, hooded by Professor Karen Roberts Woolman. Sandar Sriram Govindarajan Balakumaran, hooded by Professor Richard Wires. Susan Merlohi, hooded by Professor Andrea Dietrich. Ali Mohammed Ali Tawfiq Ali Ahmed, hooded by Professor Hesham Raka. Wan Yang, hooded by Professor Lindsay Marr. In Computer Engineering, Matthew W. Dunlop, hooded by Professor Joseph Trant and Professor Randy Marcheni. Ryan Edward Irwin, hooded by Professor Alan McKenzie. Bin Shui, hooded by Professor Joseph Trant. In computer science and applications, Shema Lazem, hooded by Professor Denis Grachinin. Mohammed Mustafa Rafiq, hooded by Professor Ali Bout. In electrical engineering, Carlos Roberto Aguayo Gonzalez, hooded by Professor Jeffrey Reed. Ashwin E. Amana, hooded by Professor Jeffrey Reed. Mohammed Wail Baidas, hooded by Professor Alan McKenzie. Juan Diego Deaton, hooded by Professor Alan McKenzie and Jeffrey Reed. Chang Lee, hooded by Professor Fred Lee. John Marcus Oliver, hooded by Professor Sanjay Raman. Adolfo L. Recio, hooded by Professor Jeff Reed. David Clayton Roosh, hooded by Professor Fred Lee. Faramer Schlake, hooded by Professor Alan McKenzie. Francisco Gerardo Valles Cedeno, hooded by Professor Virgilio Centeno. Bei Xie, hooded by Professor Tamal Bose. Bai Zhang, hooded by Professor William Bauman. In engineering education, Heidi Marie Steinauer, hooded by Professor Elizabeth McNair. Catherine Elaine Winters, hooded by Professor Holly Matusevich. In engineering mechanics, Jie-Ying Guo, hooded by Professor Rafaela De Vita. Muhammad Amin Karami, hooded by Professor Roop Mahajan. Ali Reza Karimi, hooded by Professor Mark Paul. Ali Yelagay Tamijani, hooded by Professor Rakesh Kapanya. In industrial and systems engineering, Ki Huan Bai, hooded by Professor Hanif Sharali. Jason D. Judd, hooded by Professor Subhash Sarin. Fadel Megahed, hooded by Professor Jaime Camillo and Professor William Woodell. Nihal Mohammed Sharif Orfi, hooded by Professor Janice Turpenny. Nasim Sayed Zadeh Sabunchi, hooded by Professor Don Taylor. Li Yu Zhang, hooded by Professor Janice Turpenny. In materials science and engineering, Tong Gon Jin, hooded by Professor Kathy Liu. Katia Arguilla Rodriguez Rivera, hooded by Professor Scott Renneker. Brian Lee Scott, hooded by Professor Gary Pickrell. In mechanical engineering, Reza Sultan, hooded by Professor Mehdi Ahmadian. Matthew Jason Bays, hooded by Professor Daniel Stillwell. Mirka Maluska Deza Grados, hooded by Professor Francine Battaglia. Jacob Christopher Dodson, hooded by Professor Pablo Tarazaga. William Kirchner, hooded by Professor Steve Southward. Mehmet Alpaslan Kosolu, hooded by Professor Christopher Rylander. Stephen D. Lepera, hooded by Professor Uri Vansberger. Charles Smith, hooded by Professor Michael von Spakovsky. Anake Umsritong, hooded by Professor Corina Sandu. Ya Wang, hooded by Professor Pablo Tarazaga. From the College of Liberal Arts and Human Sciences in Apparel, Housing, and Resource Management, Yongjin Bang, hooded by Professor Doris Kincaid. In career and technical education, Joseph Saloka Mukuni, hooded by Professor William Price. In counselor education, Jesse Jacob Lyle, hooded by Professor Nancy Bodenhorn. In curriculum and instruction, Allison Hope Bowersock, hooded by Professor David Salih. Lauren Hayes Bryant, hooded by Professor Brett Jones. Heather Ann Holbrook, hooded by Professor Catherine Sanamo. Alexis Larissa Johnston, hooded by Professor J. Wilkins. Marilyn Lanier, hooded by Professor George Glasson. Parastu Mokri, hooded by Professor Thomas Sherman. Kimberly Jane Norris, hooded by Professor Mary Alice Barksdale. Eric Jean Jackson Shrewsbury, hooded by Professor Judith Schrum. In educational research and evaluation, Xiangrong Wang, hooded by Professor Gary Skaggs. In human development, Jada Ethel Brooks, hooded by Professor Catherine Allen. Chi Ling Yu, hooded by Professor Shannon Jarrett. Darren D. Moore, hooded by Professor April Few Demo. In rhetoric and writing, Timothy Allen Lockridge, hooded by Professor Diana George and Professor Shally Fowler. Megan Elizabeth O'Neill, hooded by Professor Katrina Powell. In social, political, ethical, and cultural thought, Anthony S. Tate, hooded by Professor Max Stevenson. From the College of Natural Resources and Environment in Geospatial and Environmental Analysis, Arvind Anil Rambawa Bhuta, hooded by Professor Lisa Kennedy. From the College of Science in Biological Sciences, Beth Marie Cheever, hooded by Professor Jackson Webster. Sunny Shalise Crawley, hooded by Professor Kidir Hilu. Amanda Joan Rumor, hooded by Professor Christopher Lawrence. In chemistry, David Irby Bryson Jr., hooded by Professor Webster Santos. Ryan C. Fortenberry, hooded by Professor Daniel Crawford. Ren Long Gao, hooded by Professor Timothy Long. Samantha Lake Hopkins Higgins, hooded by Professor Karen Brewer. Stephen M. June, hooded by Professor Timothy Long. Yi Li, hooded by Professor Richard Turner. Yan Chun Yu, hooded by Professor Richard Turner. Sangamitra Sen, hooded by Professor Paul Deck. Fu Rong Sun, hooded by Professor Daniel Capilouto. Stephen Brandon Thorpe, hooded by Professor Webster Santos. Bin Zhang, hooded by Professor Richard Turner. In mathematics, Katerina Conrad, hooded by Professor Robert Rogers. Idir Mekai, hooded by Professor Slimani Ajirid. Ha-Feng Yu, hooded by Professor Traian Iliscu. In physics, Robert Brian Lilienfeld, hooded by Professor John Aramans. In statistics, Wan Di Huang, hooded by Professor Marion Reynolds. Sai Wang, hooded by Professor Marion Reynolds. From the Virginia, Maryland Regional College of Veterinary Medicine in Biomedical and Veterinary Sciences, Nita Jain, hooded by Professor Namalwar Sriranganathan. Interdisciplinary doctoral degrees in genetics, bioinformatics, and computational biology, Yared Habtasilasi Kadani, hooded by Professor T.M. Murali and Professor Christopher Lawrence. In macromolecular science and engineering, Sonia Denise Benson, hooded by Professor Robert Moore. Yu Chen, hooded by Professor James McGrath. Gilles Michel Deveau, hooded by Professor Robert Moore. From the College of Liberal Arts and Human Sciences, receiving the Doctor of Education in Educational Leadership and Policy Studies, Jody Lynn Brinkman, hooded by Professor Travis Twyford and Carol Cash. Robert Matthew Covington, hooded by Professor Travis Twyford. John Bishop Gordon III, hooded by Professor Travis Twyford. Peter Michael Gretz, hooded by Professor Carol Cash. Joanne Howington Jones, hooded by Professor William Glenn and Professor Travis Twyford. Laura Danielle Kastner, hooded by Professor Carol Cash. John L. Mayo, hooded by Professor Glenn Earthman. Kenneth Edward Nicely, hooded by Professor James Craig. Tracy Sue Richardson, hooded by Professor Wayne Tripp and Professor James Craig.
Congratulations to all our new doctoral recipients. I would now like to acknowledge the students who have earned the Postmaster's Educational Specialist degrees, those that have earned graduate certificates, and then the master's degrees. For those of you who have received the Educational Specialist degrees, will you please stand? Congratulations. There they are. Right. Many of our graduate students choose advanced educational programs that lead to a graduate certificate. And please stand if you have received a graduate certificate. I believe we have them in about 20 different areas today. If you have received a graduate certificate, please stand. Congratulations. You may be seated. Virginia Tech offers 89 master's degree programs. These include the Master of Arts and the Master of Science in many academic disciplines, the Master of Fine Arts, the Master of Business Administration, and professional master's degrees in disciplines such as architecture, education, engineering, forestry, information technology, natural resources, public affairs, and urban planning, and public health. And now we will recognize the students who have earned these master's degrees. Will all the candidates for the master's degrees please rise? President Steger, I have the honor to present these candidates for the master's degrees.
With the power vested in me by the Board of Visitors in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and upon recommendation of the faculty, I confer upon you the master's degrees to which you are entitled, with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto. Congratulations.
Please be seated. Will the marshals please escort the candidates for the master's degree for the stage? And again, Professor Marola will be reading the names of the master's degree recipients.
From the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences, receiving the Master of Science in Agricultural and Applied Economics, Amy Buckmaster. William Secor. David Harter. Elizabeth Heyer. Samantha Miller. Yetta Rudy. Kalatiko Faith Badura. Receiving the Master of Science in Agriculture and Life Sciences, Patricia Tripp. Receiving the Master of Sciences in Agriculture and Extension Education, Ronald Howell, Jr. Receiving the Master of Sciences in Animal and Poultry Sciences, Bailey Zwarage. Fang Sun. Receiving the Master of Science in Crop and Environmental Sciences, Amro Ahmed. Jonathan Dickerson. Ryan Stewart. The Masters of Life Sciences in Entomology, David Owens. The Masters of Life Sciences in Food Science and Technology, Brian Avilis. Elizabeth Green. Jeffrey Hamilton. Carrie Martin. Matthew Schroeder. Kristen Reese. The Masters of Science in Horticulture, Sean Appling. The Masters of Science in Human Nutrition, Food, and Exercise, Frank DiLorenzo. Emily Cook. Katie Spann. Ashley Zanko. From the College of Architecture and Urban Studies, receiving the Master of Architecture, Dong Zhao. Bingfei Guo. Hao Wu. Ivan Sergeyev. Adam Schultz. Tyler Jenkins. Carmine Cafiro. Michael Smiles. Kevin Richardson. John Benjamin Curtis. Victoria Kennedy. Gregory Mitchell. Receiving the Master of Science in Building Construction, Douglas Hines. Emily Belote. Receiving the Master of Public Administration, Jeff Branch. Michelle Walmsley. Peter Matson. Receiving the Master of Public and International Affairs, Lauren Crandall. Stephanie Leza. The Master of Urban and Regional Planning, Abby Boggs. Swetha Kumar. Clarence Sermons. Michael Schroyer. From the Pamplin College of Business, receiving the Master of Counting and Information Systems, Jonathan Brennick. Shannon Sweeney. John Cook. Timothy Tishman. Haley Young. Krista Talley. Zachary Vozo. Katie Moxter. Callie Pippin. Maggie DeShazer. Nicole Aylor, Leonard Daniels, Kevin Cornett, Zach Helmenthaler, Charles Willoughby, Andrew Adele, Julia Damewood, Amy Hopkins, Rebecca Johns, Sarah Whitney, Brittany Sutton, Amanda Grivnovics, Hillary Wheatley, Samantha Dunn, Rachel Jones, Ryan Martin, Zachary Surface, Josh Albert, Allison Lagola, Kim Bereznak, Laura Vitali, Justin Toohey, Leah Zackrol, Melissa Dozier, Jimmy Wooth, William Morrison, Caitlin Karaker, Kim Lane, Jessica Props, Lena Piao, Junwei Chow, Kiyu Zhang, Jun Chow, Sinrar He, Jing Li, Meng Chen, Wei Chi Chen, Min Zhang, Lei Gao, Lauren Kaiser, Daniel Rickenbach, Brian Nichols, Michael Parrish, Edward Judge, Sharon Barrett, Salem Kopti, Anna Kiggins, Amy Quinn, Holly Grebe. Receiving the Master of Business Administration, Arajita De. Sarab Shanbag. Lauren Prosieve. Jonathan Zaremba. Chen Fang. Andrew Robbins. Justin Newman. David Firth. Zachary Geller. Jordan Robertson. John Sumner. Jonathan Wynn. Carrie Milliner. James Walsh. Tyler Kemper. William McVeigh. Christopher Michael Camphouse. Emily Belote. Morgan Fradley. Julie Ann Sablick. Megan Keys. Chu Wei Wong. Palin Edeman. Michael Canfield. Chris Gallagher. Yu Zhu. Nana Wang. Kirill Stoyanov. Danielle Don Diego. Jason DeVito. Varghese Hamilton George. Emily Jasper. Erin Mahoney. Tingen Lin. Matthew Brian Marsh. Jonathan Kirby. Eric Fisher. Amy Yonke. Charlotte Leray. Elise Rudy. Michelle Mature. Suzanne Zaney. Kash Liu. Da Fan. Cheng Chen Chow. Anuja Rajivadekar. Shruti Ba. Hardit Bhatia. Tirupati Srivastava. Ahmad Shamlu. Olga Radchuk. Julia Aman. Maria Buser. Tanya Vogel. Natalie Dubois Dicasandi. Emmanuel Kasani. Laura Zini. Aurora Aka. Andrea Heller. Stefan Kohler, receiving the Master of Science in Hospitality and Tourism Management, Sarah Brown. Dana Romano. Molly Gert. Wing Cho Chung. Suna Yu. From the College of Engineering, receiving the Master of Science in Aerospace Engineering, Maika Isa. Shruti Krishnan. Receiving the Master of Science in Biological Systems Engineering, Richard Alivi. Karen Hall. Robert Joes. Tyler Kreider. Waverly Parks. Luke Wildfire, receiving the Master of Science in Biomedical Engineering, Vanessa Alphonse. Ray Daniel. Kristen Zimmerman, receiving the Master of Science in Civil Engineering, Alfonso Jose Rivera Rojas. Carla Santa Cruz Reyes. Afra Abu Saleh. Cynthia Bastians. Anthony Lee. Stephen Litsus. Francis Pesci. Arsalan Haydarian. Pablo Fargier. Jeffrey Hughes. Nicholas Fugaro. Joseph Arcella. Justin Deal. Jeffrey Smith. Stephen Valeri. Ryan Fair. Christopher Gallitz. Andrew Augustin. Amber Verma. Manasa Kopal. Gina Jayaman. Margaret Mascaro. Elias Rivera. Razvan Kojakaru. Luke Cronin. Zihao Zhou. Receiving the Master of Science in Computer Science and Applications, Kenneth Lee. Henry Monti. Christian Solano. Brian McDaniel. Erin Lindsay. Jennifer Francois. Fabrice Marcellin. Shanka Banerjee. Nikhil Komawar. Icha Sethi, Shirley Kodio, Ashwini Kambli, Ji Wang, receiving the Master of Science and Master of Engineering in Computer Engineering, Brittany Clore. Daniel Ali. Daniel Gaiman. Anand Singh. Himanshu Sardana. Sarash Malayatil. Alton Davis Jr. Lale Rafi'i. Kavya Shugaritaya. Kashik Mukunda. Ambuj Sinha. Shri Krishna Iyer. Supratik Misra. Navideta Narayanan. Preeti Kumar. Goodwin Joseph Savannah. Receiving the Master of Science and Master of Engineering in Electrical Engineering, Thomas Cooper. Nicholas Kaminsky. Kojo Zalivu. Karthik Venkataramani. Aditya Mundle. Yagnesh Mathis. Arjan Totapilli. Krishna Kumar Gopalakrishnan. Akshay Kumar. Todd McDonald. Receiving the Master of Science in Environmental Engineering, Andrew Jones. Evan Bowles. Pallavi Bishnoi. Karthik Radhakrishnan. Ritika Kakar. Ankit Gupta. Receiving the Master of Engineering Administration, Shannon Zembetti. Receiving the Master of Science in Industrial Systems Engineering, Julia Ripa. Carolina Cortizo. Laura Lynn DeWitt. Krista Miller. Andrea Shom. Pedro Graber. David Linkenauger. Alsan Ali. Andrew Kenneth Heyer. Ira Lee Crawford Jr. Mandar Bulak. Raktim Mitra. Akshay Sankpal. Aditya Vasta. Sudeep Kunur. Mahesh Narayanamurthy. Chao Hang Jang. Yu Shi Yang. Receiving the Master of Science in Materials Science and Engineering, Elizabeth Balcastro. Marianne Lindsay. Andrew Culp. Andrea Rojas. Receiving the Master of Science in Mechanical Engineering, Taylor Tront Young. Joseph Najim. Preston Albert Pinto. Jesse Ali. Jonathan King. Scott Naranjo. Kevin Lee Garrison. Matthew Richard Barcroft Dowden. Ashley Gordon. Karu Anto. Sandria Gray. Christopher Sebesta. Matthew Torok. Kenneth Kroger. Brian Krawick. Michael Bromley II. Robert Collins. Brian Carroll. Jason Bullior. Wesley Cardwell. Panit Howard. Chung Nguyen. Andrew Carmack. Matthew Allen. Receiving the Master of Science in Mining Engineering, Daniel Sattler. Receiving the Master of Science in Ocean Engineering, Jonathan Murrow. Gihan Jung. From the College of Liberal Arts and Human Sciences, receiving the Master of Arts in Communication, Thomas Waddell. Receiving the Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing, Raina Lauren Fields. Receiving the Master of Science in Education in Career and Technical Education, Laura Bradley. Spencer Blankenship. Yvonne Hansat. Teresa Thompson. Casey Duncombe. Stacy Hamilton. Chris McCarrazy. Kristen Brill. Larkin Hottel. Catherine House. Abigail Gillum. Mary Clark. Rebecca Wetmiller. Receiving the Master of Arts in Education in Counselor Education, Tyler Orball. Christina Smith. Amber Hilton Purdue. Autumn Purdue. Shialyn Mabry. Hope Hackemeyer. Stephanie Browning. Jessica Watahovich. Allison Kirby Newland. Luisiana Isabel Cano. Katrina Marie Nolf. Tina Marie Malpass. Paul Debnam. Receiving the Master of Arts in Education in Curriculum and Instruction, Amy Sabari. Martina Fode. Nancy Gibson. Alina Knight. Nicole Renee Winkler. Rachel Coulter. India Hahn. Megan Hope. Angela Zonke. Valerie Gunter. Carolyn Bean. Kelly Baldwin. Melissa Tilashalski. Emily Jaffa. Reagan Boswell. Sierra McNish. Daniel Monahan. Travis Anderson. Christopher Harvey. Taylor Clark. William Altizer. Amanda Poe. Michael Giancola. Paul Grinups. Terry McCauley. Joseph Mayford. Amanda Huffman. Amanda Cooper. Sandra Hunt. Margaret McGovern. Kelsey Beecher. Rebecca Grease. Amanda Murray. Sarah Eakey. Kathleen Rowe. Molly Martell. Brittany Brown. Ann Chaddock Edwards. Elizabeth Davidson. Tracy Lewis. Sierra Rankin. Brittany Kessler. Elizabeth Toston. Lauren Burbach. Caitlin Boyle. Mario Calix. Larry Cox II. Erica Inge. Sumaira Sabaz. Melanie Ross. Melanie Hopp. Tyler Love. Michelle Lagan. Katie Blevins-Curd. Catherine Devens. Daniel Upton. Ariel Wilt. Joseph Ayers. Nathan Postman. Elizabeth Phelps. Emily Love. Carol Danielle White. Brittany Werner. Marilee Showalter. Deirdre Hand. Elizabeth Klein. Fairlight Meyer. Rena Glavas. Sarah Barlow. Michael Lieber. Laura Dickerson. Andrew Boydo. Shelby Bennett. Brittany Oliver. Jessica Quinjao Nguyen. Allison Maranta. Claire Guzinski. Don Thomas. Todd Gasparello. Angela Marie Nunley. Receiving the Master of Arts in Education, in Educational Leadership and Policy Studies, Colleen Robian. Shanoya Connor. Matthew Creasy. Sarah Crockett. Heather Harding. Megan Higginbotham. Lauren Howard. Dana McGuire. Samantha Mills. Dennis Preby. Jason Scott. Receiving the Master of Arts in English, Georgia Natishan. Casey Kanaipa. Receiving the Master of Arts in Foreign Languages, Cultures, and Literatures, Ashby Owens. Receiving the Master of Arts in History, Barbara Bowser. Fleming Cook Susan. Christopher Westphal. Receiving the Master of Arts in Political Science, Kendall Bailey. Laura Beckner. Receiving the Master of Science in Science and Technology Studies, Peggy Lane. From the College of Natural Resources, receiving the Master of Science in Fisheries and Wildlife Sciences, Gifty Anane Tabia. Risa Pesapane. Michael St. Germain. Emily Susko. Receiving the Master of Science and Master of Forestry in Forestry, Chad Campbell. Jeff Fieldhouse. Shannon Fowler. Rochelle Geiger. Casey Martin. Kevin McLean. Bethany Muchler. William Stanley. Katie Trazo. Laura Ware. Receiving the Master of Science in Geography, Catherine Prosiv. James Link Elmore. Lauren Sams. Brent Sams. Receiving the Master of Natural Resources, Angie DeSoto. Laura Parkhurst. Adam Tate. From the College of Science, receiving the Master of Science in Biological Sciences, Shal Sam John. Adam Altrichter. Receiving the Master of Arts in Economics, Arts and Sciences, Mary Connell. Receiving the Master of Science in Geosciences, Karina Chung. Luke Joyce. Receiving the Master of Science in Mathematics, Lothar Gerd. Receiving the Master of Science in Psychology, Kristen Austin. From the Virginia Maryland Regional College of Veterinary Medicine, receiving the Master of Science in Biomedical and Veterinary Sciences, Nehal Shah. Samantha Casterlow. Receiving the Master of Public Health, Kristen Amy Flaggs. Jessica Smith. Lauren Fortenberry. Helen Ferguson. Allison Noel. Megan Stewart. Caitlin Coleman. Meredith Borza. From interdisciplinary programs, receiving the Master of Information Technology, Angela Banks. Vanessa Bohr. Michael Sexton. John Westerman. Darren Schmidt. Derek Weaver. Stephen Morton. Manuel Landron. Inokenti Ignatiev. Zachariah Alsgaard. Warren Reed. Receiving the Master of Science in Macromolecular Science and Engineering Life Sciences, Ozma Lane. Yongbo Zhu. Receiving the Master of Science in Industrial and Systems Engineering, Sudarshan Gopinath. Yuan Gao. Receiving the Masters in Electrical Engineering, Hong Mei Wan. Receiving a Master of Science in Computer Engineering, Abrele Tabagari. Shri Harsha Puranik. Pradeep Naga.
Congratulations to all of our graduates. You want to just do the recessional? You want to do the recessional? Why don't you just...
I want to give a special thanks to Dr. Joseph Marola as the reader of the names and Ms. Paige Russell as the members of the Virginia Tech Brass Ensemble for their part this morning. For graduates and faculty who intend to participate in the University Commencement processional, please proceed immediately to the Rector Fieldhouse for security screening. Those who are joining the audience should proceed directly to Lane Stadium for security check and seating. So now please stand until the stage party has recessed. With the recessional, our ceremony will be concluded. Thank you for joining us, and safe travels.
They're all supposed to leave together. They're all supposed to leave together. They don't have a script. They don't know. He's like yelling. Oh, we got the stage party out? Yeah.